Elias boarded the last bus of the night like he was entering a room whose every corner he already knew by memory. Mang Rubin, same nod. No recognition, no trace of yesterday. The smell was still the same, disinfectant that was almost gone, and rain that had already dried but left something heavy in the air. Like the smell of the street after a storm, that mix of water and garbage and wet concrete. He knew everything. 11:42 p.m. Always. He sat at the back, on that seat with the broken armrest. He tried sitting in others several times, row 3, row 7, sometimes right at the front, but he'd always return here. Muscle memory, maybe. Or maybe this was the only control he had left, that feeling that somehow he had chosen the seat, even though he knew he had no choice in the others. He took a deep breath, counted. 3 seconds before the gears would shift. 6 rattles of loose panel inside, that metal-on-metal sound, sometimes only but consistent. 20 seconds before the streetlight in front of the store that was always closed but still had a light inside would flicker, that pale fluorescent color, like a hospital. No other passengers. Always. Except Mang Rubin, who just stared at the road, no expression, no life in his eyes, but his hands still moved on the steering wheel. Shift gear, brake, gas, again. He took out his phone, still 11:42 p.m. He tried to scroll, same headlines, traffic on EDSA, MMDA issues advisory, same messages that were never actually sent. He had a draft text for his dad, "On my way home, I'm on the bus already." But he never sent it because he knew tomorrow it would be wrong. Tomorrow, everything he said tonight would be wrong. Except there was no tomorrow. You could remove the phone, throw it away. Tomorrow it would still be there, whole, fully charged, 11:42 p.m. He looked out the window. Manila looked too still, like a diorama in a museum, those scenes of life preserved in a glass case. The vendor on the corner arranging a plastic chair exactly, lift, pivot, down, just like last night and yesterday, and the first night he remembered the loop. The way he held the chair, the angle of his arm, everything the same, frame by frame, no deviation. How many now? 23 or 24? He wasn't sure anymore. He'd tried writing on paper, tick marks, tallies, but they disappeared too. The paper would become blank again. So it was just muscle memory, counting in his head. But when you sleep, you lose the count too. Physics says time is linear, entropic, irreversible. That's what they taught. Thermodynamics, second law, everything moves towards disorder. But his body says repeat, repeat, and you don't know why. Like a glitch in the system, like a hole in space-time that just swallowed you and never let you out. They passed a stoplight, red. Always red here, 5.5 seconds before it turned green. He'd counted it before. He'd tried standing up before it turned green, running out, but he was still here, always. 1, 2, 3, someone boarded. Elias froze, his hand gripping the rail stiffened, his shoulder locked. No one should board, not anymore, never. 23 nights with no one boarding. A woman. Early 20s, maybe. She wore the type of backpack full of engineering plates, thick, rolled, the kind where you carry a whole building design. There were rulers, triangles, that sketch pad with torn edges. The edges of her sleeves were a bit wet. Rain, but there was no rain tonight. She sat 2 rows ahead, near the window, and didn't look at Elias. But there should be no one boarding. It should just be him, always alone. Elias stood up slightly, but sat back down immediately. He gripped the metal rail. It was still warm even though the night was cold. His heart, beating faster than the usual countdown. He could feel his pulse in his neck, in his palm. The bus moved. He knew the next movement. It would turn left. They would pass a Jeep parked wrong, then the pothole at the corner of España Extension, the hole that was never repaired because there was no repair in this loop. The bus lurched before he could even count. And the woman braced herself. She grabbed the seat in front of her simultaneously with the lurch, not after. Her timing exactly right, as if she knew, as if she was waiting. Impossible. She looked back. Not at him, in the reflection, in the window. Her gaze steady, clear, and straight at Elias. No mistake, no accident. Intentional. "You're early tonight," she said, with no inflection. English, Taglish, like a normal conversation, like she was just commenting on the traffic. "You usually lose it near Cubao." Elias let go of the rail. Her voice, as if there was no wonder, no surprise, like she just stated the time, the temperature, the weather. No weight, but full of meaning. "What?" he stammered. He didn't stammer, never, but now it was as if all the words in his mind were gone. "You know me?" The woman looked forward again, but her eyes were still there in the reflection. Tired, but not afraid. That kind of tired that comes from within. The tired that even if you sleep, it's still there. "No," she answered, "but I've seen you. Same seat, same countdown, same..." She stopped, thought. "Same face when you realize it's going to loop again." Elias moved closer. 3 steps. He hadn't thought of what to say, but he moved. His body moved before his brain could process. He stood by her row, still holding the railing. "How long have you been here?" he asked, softly. Mangrubin might hear, but he knew he wouldn't. Mangrubin didn't hear anything anyway. "On the bus?" She smiled slightly, not because it was funny, but because there was nothing else to do. That smile of a defense mechanism, a person's last resort when they have no control left. "Or in the loop?" "The loop. 16 nights. You?" 23, I think. She looked directly at Elias now. A real look, not a reflection. Her eyes brown, deep, with eye bags as if she hadn't slept properly in a long time, but clear, sharp, alive. "Mara," she said. "Elias." No one offered a handshake. No one moved. The bus kept running, steady hum, same rhythm, but now there was something different, someone who understood, a witness, another person who knew what was happening, who was also experiencing it, who didn't think he was crazy or just making things up. "Have you tried getting off?" Mara asked, clinical, like a checklist. "Yes." "Run back to Monumento?" "Yes." "Take a different vehicle?" "Yes." "Taxi, Grab, Jeep, everything." She nodded. "Same." She sighed. "I tried not boarding too, just walked. I got all the way to Quiapo, but when it hit 11:42, I was back, like I teleported. I was here again." "Fuck," Elias whispered. "Yeah." Silence, but not awkward, as if the world was just quiet. The kind of silence where you can hear your heartbeat, the hum of the aircon dripping, the friction of the tires on the road. "I thought," Elias said slowly, "I was alone." Mara looked out the window, her reflection in the window almost transparent, like just part of the nightscape, like a ghost already, but she was here, solid, real. "No," she answered, "but you were, until now." They passed a stoplight, red, but now that there were 2 of them watching, it seemed to have a different weight, like something they needed to understand. The light, not just a signal, it meant something, it had a pattern. "What happened?" Elias asked. "Why are we here?" Mara shook her head. "I don't know, but you know the weird part? Weirder than this?" She smiled, small, fragile, the kind of smile that's close to crying but being held back. "At first I was so scared. On the 8th night I tried screaming, telling everyone, 'Stop the bus, stop me.' But now," she looked at Elias, "now that you're here, I feel like..." She stopped, but Elias understood. She felt relieved. "Same," Elias whispered. 11:42 p.m. Elias's clock, same, but now he had company, someone who knew, a witness to the repeating impossible, and that alone, that understanding that he and she were alone, the most important thing. He wasn't alone, he wasn't crazy. There was another person also trapped, also counting, also waiting. And for the first time in 23 nights, he wasn't alone. They passed Cubao. Nothing happened, but Elias didn't panic. He just stayed beside Mara and listened to the hum of the bus, to the rhythm he had long felt, but now there was a heartbeat. 2, together, synchronized, alive. Dawn never comes, but now there was someone else hoping it would.